Okay, guys, so we're going to talk about pen and ink shading. Okay, there's 3 different techniques we're going to learn in foundations. They're hatching, cross hatching, and stipple. Okay, you're going to get your choice to do whatever one you prefer as we move forward. All right, there's a lot of different kinds of pens you can use. Each of you guys have at least one pen in the pack that I gave you in the beginning of the year. They might be something like this. That might be a micron pen. It might be a tech liner, but you really, I mean, you can use a regular ballpoint pen. It can be blue or black. Most of what we're doing is going to be in black, but it's, you know, it's totally up to you how you want to go about that. Okay. When you guys do this, all right, no matter what the technique is, it's going to be based on proximity. And what I mean by that is the closer your strokes are, the darker it's going to be. The further away your strokes are, the lighter it's going to be. Okay. If you go and read in a book or check online and things like that, a lot of people are going to tell you that things have to be like really tight and controlled. Okay. So they're going to tell you, like, when you do hatching, it's got to be like this and then like this. All right, that's not true. Okay, you want to be a little bit looser with this. Okay, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. As you go through this, right, you have to work with the contours of things. Okay, so I'm going to show you on this cone what I mean by that. So when we're doing hatching, hatching is a series of parallel lines, so they should all be going basically the same direction. Okay, we want to work with the contour. So when we're looking at something like a cone, okay, there's a couple different contours, right? We've got this contour, right? It goes like that, and then we've got this contour. All right, we want to go with what we're going to call the dominant contour if we're going to do hatching. Okay, the dominant contour is going to be the one that definitively shows us that this thing is round. Okay, so this would be the dominant contour that's going to show us that it's round. Okay, the other thing is I'm always going to start with my darkest area. When I'm doing pen, it's different than pencil or even color pencil, where I can't really go back and make anything lighter, but I can always make things darker. So I always start with my dark and I work my way towards my light, because if I make my dark too light, it's an easy fix. If I make my light too dark, I can't fix that. Okay, so when I do this, all right, I'm going to start laying in. I'm going to do basically this version of it. This is done in stipple, but I'm going to do this in hatching. All right, so I'm going to work where this dark is. All right, and I'm doing little strokes to create the beginning of that contour. Okay, and with this one, I'm going to make that dark not all the way at the edge. So as I go to my next value, all right, now I'm just going to go to the same spot, but I'm going to make my lines longer. All right, and I'm still going to be working with that same curve. Okay, and as I come to my next one, same idea. So my lines are getting longer, they're getting further apart, and there's fewer of them every time I make a new value. Okay, but I'm always working with that dominant contour. And by starting at the same spot, I'm making sure that my dark is dark enough. Now, if I need to, I can go back in and I can go back and add values where I need. All right, one thing I can do is I can squint my eyes and look at it, and if I can't see, you know, different values in here or a transition of value, then that means I need to add a little bit more. Maybe I'm missing some midtones. So I can gradually keep working back and forth, all right, until I'm satisfied with this. Okay, and then my shadow is going to work the same way. So my shadow, I got to work the direction that my shadow is going to go. And same thing, my shadow is going to get lighter as it gets further away. All right, so that would basically be what it looks like with hatching. Okay, if I'm doing cross hatching, I'm going to do both contours. Okay, so if I go down and look at this cylinder, all right, these curves, all right, show me that I've got this contour, right, and these sides show me that I've got this contour. So I'm going to work with both of those. Okay, so I can go about it the same way I just did the cone. All right, and there's a couple different schools of thought with this. When I'm doing cross hatching, and this is simply because I'm partial to hatching, all right, I tend to do more hatching than cross hatching. I'm going to lay in my first couple values just with hatching. All right, and again, it's not this strict, you know, straight up and down, but there's like a lot of like books and things like that are going to tell you, do this really tight, do this, then do this, then do this, and what you get is a really chopped up image. So when we do this, and we're always working back over top of it, we get a much more gradual transition of value, right? So if I get those first couple in, then I can go back to this contour, all right? And the way I like to think of cross hatching is like it's a net, like a fishing net, okay? And in here where it's really dark, all right, my net is really tight, my net is really intact, all right? But as I get out here into those lighter values, my net it starts to get shredded, it starts to break up, all right? They don't necessarily need to connect, okay? And when I'm talking about the top of this, all right, the top is going to be a little bit different because of the angle that we're looking at it, right? So that's going to be flatter lines that create that top, okay? All right, so that would be a cross hatching, okay? So we've got hatching, parallel lines, cross hatching, intersecting lines, all right? The last one, all right, let me just fold this up so you guys can get a good look at it. All right, the last one is going to be stippling. All right, now stippling takes a much longer time. Okay, stippling is something that if you are really, really patient and you're a perfectionist and you really like to take your sweet time with things, you're going to love stipple. If you're somebody like me that likes to work quicker, you're probably going to hate stipple. Okay, it's either you love it or you hate it. All right, but if you're going to do it, you have to really take the time. Ideally, we would want to do it all with the same size pen, okay? Now, this is an 005. This is the smallest pen that we have, all right? That pen tip is really, really tiny, all right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to go with a bigger pen, okay? And I'm going to actually mix pens a little bit. You can mix pens normally, but if you mix pens, you want to mix pens of the same variety. Okay, so like this is an 02 versus an 005, all right, and hopefully you can see the difference in tips there. Okay, it's subtle, all right, but this one's a little bit bigger, all right. So if you're going to mix pens, you really should mix the same pens because as you see as I go through this, and again, I'm just doing it for speed, as I go through this, you're going to see hopefully that there's different color inks, all right. So when I'm doing this, all right, I'm literally just putting dots on the page. All right, I still need to work with my contour. All right, so everything that we talked about way back when, in the beginning of the year, we talked about the contours and working this way, right, to show the roundness of that sphere. I still have to do that. Sorry about that, the lights went out again. All right, so I still have to do that. I still got to work with that contour. All right, everything we talked about earlier in the year with reflective light still comes into play. That's why I'm not working all the way to the edge of this. All right. Now, ideally, and I don't know how much it's picking up, but ideally you shouldn't really hear me doing this. right? A lot of times when people are stippling, it's like, and when they do that, they're just destroying the pen. All right, so you're gonna hear a little bit, but if you're hearing like loud tapping, you're just destroying your pen. All right. Again, I'm doing this a little less and with a bigger pen for time's sake. I don't think you guys want to watch a half-hour video of me stippling. I know I wouldn't want to watch that. All right, and if I go to a different pen, all right, and it's really subtle, but hopefully you can see a little bit, once I get some of this in here, you can see a little bit of a difference. Now, if I do have to switch pens, all right, my pen right now, all I have is this other one. What I can do to try to bridge the gap is I can work back into my other ink with this other pen, and that'll help the blending. That'll help my eye mix those colors. That's something called optical mixing, which we'll talk about later in the year, but where your eye starts to mix the colors together and it doesn't notice the difference as much. Okay, so if you get in a situation where you have to switch pens to a different brand, you want to try to work those pens back in together. All right, but you can see the different size dots that I'm dealing with now, right? So this is, and this pen is, you know, about 3 times the size of the one that I was doing the hatching and the cross hatching with. So you can see it would take a while. All right, but when it's all said and done, right, I'm gonna look at something similar to that. Okay, so I won't make you sit here and watch me do the whole thing, but it's gonna be something similar to that. So what you guys are gonna do is you're gonna do this page 48, all right, in your workbook. You're gonna do all 4. You're gonna do the square, or I'm sorry, the cube, the cone, the cylinder, and the sphere. You're gonna do one of each of these techniques, and then whatever your 4th one is gonna be your favorite of these. So if you really like the hatching, do your 4th one in the hatching. I don't care what order you do it in. I care about how it looks. Okay, again, be a little looser with it. Don't be too tight and controlled. All right, and I don't want to just dump on being tight and controlled all the time, because there is benefit to it. But when you're doing it, when you're doing this, you're going to get a much more natural blend if you loosen up a little bit. Okay, again, people that like the stipple are going to have a much harder time loosening up with this, because you're just naturally a little tighter, all right, and more controlled in what you do. All right, so that's the basics on how to do the pen. All right. If you guys have any questions, shoot me a text, shoot me an email, and I'll try to walk you through it. All right? Good luck.